Good afternoon and welcome to the regular meeting of the Committee of the Whole for June 9th, 2026. My name is Oreen Chowdhury and I am the chair of this committee. I will call this regular meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll to verify the presence of a quorum.
Councilmember Payne.
Present.
Wansley.
Present.
Rainville.
Present.
Vita is absent. Warren.
Present.
Osman is absent. Schaefer.
Present.
Stevenson.
Present.
Chavez.
Present.
Whiting.
Present.
Palmisano.
Present.
Vice Chair Chugtai is absent. And Chair Chowdhury.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. I'll also just note that we've been joined by Council Vice President Osman and Councilmember Vita, and that Vice Chair Chugtai is attending to a very pressing matter in her ward, and that's why she is not at today's meeting. Before we begin the meeting, let me offer a friendly reminder to everyone that these meetings are broadcast live to enable greater public participation. The broadcasts include real-time captioning to increase accessibility for the entire community, so it's important that all speakers be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to please moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. Colleagues, our agenda is in front of us. I'll briefly explain its order. First, we will begin with the reports of our standing committees. There is one item I am going to be requesting to add into consent. We'll actually do that first before our standing committees. And then I will be turning the chair over to Councilmember Whiting, Chair of the Settlement Agreement and Consent Decree Subcommittee. After Chair Whiting has dispensed of those items, I'll return to chairing the last two items under Receive and File. Are there any questions about that order or any amendments to make? Okay. Without objection, I would like to move to amend the agenda by adding an honorary resolution regarding Gun Violence Awareness Month. Is there a second? Second. Thank you. Okay. With that, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
So moved. Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The motion passes. So since we do not have anything else on the consent agenda for COW today, I will move approval of this honorary resolution for Gun Violence Awareness Month for Thursday. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The motion passes. Okay, now we will begin our standing committee reports. We'll start with the Enterprise and Labor Relations Committee chaired by Councilmember Palmisano.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair. The ELR committee intends to bring 12 items forward to full council. The first item is a gift acceptance from Local Progress for Councilmember Robin Wansley. Item number 2 is an AmeriCorps program application to host 5 VISTA members for the next 5 years. Item number 3 is Hiawatha Public Works Maintenance Facility Expansion Project, reapproving project authorization and bond issuances. Item number 4 is a contract with Deloitte for benefits consulting and actuarial services. Item number 5 is a contract with multiple vendors for temporary staffing services. Item number 6 is a contract amendment with Principal Financial Group for custodial banking services. Item 7 is a contract amendment with Environmental Systems Research Institute for our city's Geographic Information System, GIS. Item number 8 is a contract amendment with Shaw Lundquist for the City Hall Restack Phase 3 project. It's just an increase to the contract. Item number 9 is a legal settlement, the workers' compensation claim of Stephen Morris. Item 10 is a workers' compensation claim for Tracy Turble. Item number 11 is approval of the 2026 open street events. We had a nice presentation about that. And item number 12 is the Local Board of Appeal and Equalization report. I'll stand for questions.
Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, we'll move to the Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee, and that report will be given by its chair, Chair Osman.
Thank you, Chair Chowdhury. The Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee will be bringing 18 items on Thursday council meeting. Item 1 approves an expansion of premises for Mestizo. Item 2 approves the liquor license for Pillsbury Club. Item 3 is an extension hours of operation application for University Tobacco. This was sent without recommendation. Item 4 and 5 were license reunification for the same business, University Tobacco. There is an update here. The license holders have paid their taxes, and therefore I will be moving to delete both license reunifications from the agenda on Thursday. Item 6 approves a sidewalk cafe license for Yellowbird Cafe Bar. Item 7 authorized the land sale for 34 houses apart from the Minneapolis Homeless Financing Program. Item 8 approves a 7 liquor license. Item 9 approves 24 liquor license renewals. Item 10 authorizes an amendment for Stable Home, Stable School contract. Item 11 authorizes a contract amendment for Arts and Fund Initiative. Item 12 approves affordable housing financing for Northview project. Item 13 authorizes a program change for home improvement program. Item 14 authorizes a Great Street Gap loan for Mercado Central. Item 15 approves 11 appointments to the Minneapolis Advisory Committee on Housing. Item 16 approves amendment to the conduit bonds policy. Item 17 denies the exclusive development rights to Minnesota Agave movement. And lastly, item 18 approves the legislative directive related to the Heritage Park. With that, I will stand for any questions. Thank you.
Members, the report's been given. Are there any questions? Councilmember Warren.
Thank you, Chair Chowdhury. I would just like to, you said it was item number, which, 18? The legislative directive for Heritage Park?
Yes.
I would just like to pull that item for discussion, and I would also like to appoint the legislative directives to the appropriate committees that support it as well.
And we don't need, since we're not voting on the item today, we'll be voting on it on Thursday. We don't need to pull it aside for discussion. If there is something you want to share now about it, you can go ahead.
Well, just knowing that it needs to go before additional committees.
Okay.
And so when I came to Public Health and Safety, I was told that I didn't have to reread the legislative directive in the Public Health and Safety Committee, that then I could wait until Committee of the Whole and appoint it to all appropriate committees that support it.
Yeah, let's figure this out. I'll go to Councilmember Chavez.
Okay.
Yep, so I guess, thank you, Chair Chowdhury and Councilmember Warren. So I guess the goal will be here to, at full council, amend that legislative directive to then say, to report back to the relevant committee. So that way it can go to Business, Housing and Zoning and PHSE in the future. So I guess probably the best thing to do here would be to bring in amendments that reflects those changes that Councilmember Warren is talking about at full council. That way it can make sure that the work she's bringing forward is brought forward to these various different committees that they report to.
Great. Yeah, that's a really valuable announcement. So we'll just look for that amendment to come forward to us on Thursday, it sounds like. Thank you, Councilmember Warren and Councilmember Chavez. President Payne?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I like Councilmember Chavez's recommendation on that. And I think that some additional work is going to probably emerge on this topic because it's a pretty substantive topic. I think we should move forward with the legislative directive with the current scope of it so that we keep that timeline going forward. And I think it's smart to just kind of reflect that we want to have some of this content shared in the various committees that do have relevant information. But I think there's going to be some potential additional actions that we'll want to take separate and apart that has different scope than this legislative directive.
That sounds great. Okay. Is there anything else on this biz report? All right, thank you. Seeing no discussion on this, we will go to the Climate and Infrastructure Committee. The report will be given by its chair, Chair Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Chowdhury. The CNI Committee has 17 items to bring forward. The first is the Loring Park Resurfacing Project, project approval and assessment. The second is 38th Street and Chicago Avenue Street Reconstruction, project approval, assessment, and area way abandonment. This item was forwarded without recommendation. Number 3 is grant applications for the 2026 Metropolitan Council regional solicitation for federal transportation funds and active transportation solicitation for regional sales and use tax funds. 4 is agreement with the Minnesota Department of Transportation for Whittier Safe to Routes to School Phase 2 project. 5 is a bid for Nicollet Ave planting and maintenance. 6 is a bid for rental of heavy equipment with operator. 7 is a bid for rental of heavy equipment without operator. 8 is bid for 2026 cleaning and lining restoration only project. 9 is a bid for 3rd Street North Sanitary Sewer Reconstruction Project. 10 is contract amendment with Minger Construction Companies, Inc. for the Boston Terrace Sanitary and Storm Sewer Improvements Project. 11 is contract amendment with Morcon Construction, Inc. for the Federal Courthouse Parking Ramp Security Improvements Project. 12 is contract amendment with Short Elliott Hendrickson, Inc. for engineering and design services for the 2nd Street North Bikeway Project. 13 is a contract amendment with PCI Roads LLC for the Golden Valley Butterfly Valve Installation Project. 14 is Big Honking Truck Parade event permits, June 18, 2026. 15 is 612 Days Block Event Permit, June 12, 2026. 16 is a lease amendment with the Minnesota Department of Transportation for space at 516 2nd Avenue North, Ramp B. I also encourage members of the council to check out the presentation that staff did on this. It was very informative about a really good storage program being offered with one of our downtown partners to our unhoused neighbors. 17 is also a grant and gift acceptance for the Railroad Crossing Elimination Grant for a Camden Railroad Grade Separation Project Study. We also received a really productive presentation on staff, from staff about this effort as well. So with that, I will stand for questions.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Wansley. We will go to Councilmember Stevenson.
Thank you. I just wanted to speak to item number 2 is all. Should I do that now?
Yes, please go ahead, Councilmember.
Okay, thank you. So item number 2 is the 38th Street and Chicago Street Reconstruction Project Approval Assessment and Areaway Abandonment. I'll be speaking against the assessment, but for the areaway abandonment. This street reconstruction project is not like any other street reconstruction project that has happened either in the past or almost certainly in the future. George Floyd was murdered at 38th in Chicago in 2020, as we all are well aware, and the uprising happened afterwards. The community in this particular area underwent incredible stress, incredible hardship, and has suffered dearly for years now. So this project has been billed to the community as something that is being done to invest in the community in response to this murder, even though the planning for this project began back in 2018. And so this project is not like any other street reconstruction project. The community has undergone incredible hardship leading into this, and on Thursday we should deny points 1 and 2 in order to come up with a different way, which we have, a different way of paying for these assessments, because this is not the typical street reconstruction project. This is something totally different entirely. And we will, I'm sure, have many conversations off the dais about this, as well as more conversations on Thursday. Thank you.
Councilmember Wansley.
I just wanted to also inform my colleagues, there was a memo or staff memo request made in regards to the big honking truck parade, and that is currently in your inbox in terms of who's sponsoring it. It seems that Morrison Construction is the lead company behind this, but that memo does offer some details and also on what fiscal support we're providing towards this particular event.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Wansley. I put myself in queue. I also requested that memo, so I'm glad that we have that. There wasn't in the committee clarity on how much we're putting into this as a city, so that's helpful to get ahead of Thursday. I just quick wanted to speak on the special assessments fees for George Floyd Square and just recommend that colleagues tune into the meeting that we had in climate and infrastructure. It felt very clear to me that given the unique circumstances of the area, the murder of George Floyd, the unrest that has happened there, and just like the struggle in which the community is faced, and the way that the city has dedicated itself to community-led development and projects, that it makes a lot of sense for us to deny the special assessment. And I'm looking forward to working with Councilmember Stevenson. Really grateful to his office for taking lead on figuring out a path forward, and grateful to the committee members that largely shared their support for the fact that this isn't a special assessment fee that we should levy on this community, and there are really strong reasons for that. Are there any other members that would like to get into discussion? Seeing none, we can go to Public Health and Safety Equity Committee. That report will be given by its chair, Chair Chavez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Public Health, Safety, and Equity Committee will be bringing forward 10 items. Item number 1 is an ordinance related to law enforcement agency agreements. Item number 2 deletes from the agenda the mayor's nomination of Brian O'Hara to appoint the position of police chief. I would just ask that we double check that this is actually a vote we still need to take, because we did delete it from the agenda in PHSC. Item number 3 authorizes a contract amendment with Michael S. Wilson for audit services for neighborhood associations. Item number 4 authorizes a contract amendment with Trajectory Changing Solutions for violence prevention services. Item number 5 authorizes contract amendments with Restoration Inc., Metro Youth Diversion, and Touch Outreach for 2026 Minneapolis Strategic Outreach Initiative Services. Item number 6 accepts the Urban Area Security Initiative grant for enhancing emergency management capabilities and authorizes an agreement with the Minnesota Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management for the grant. Item number 7 accepts the Emergency Management Performance Grant for emergencies and disasters and authorizes an agreement with the Minnesota Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management for the grant. Item number 8 accepts the Strong Foundation's Professional Development Grant for evidence-based family home visitors professional development and authorizes an agreement with the state of Minnesota for the grant. Item number 9 approves the East Street Crossing Amplified Sound Permit Extension for June 12th, July 10th, August 1st, and August 28, 2026. And item number 10 authorizes a contract with Community Action Partnership of Hennepin County for direct energy assistance and administration. Thank you. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask you a clarifying question, Councilmember Chavez. You mentioned that it said it's still on your committee report, the nomination of Chief O'Hara, and the committee had deleted it.
So Chair Chaudhry, in the Public Health, Safety, and Equity Committee, there was a motion to delete item number 2, which is the mayor's nomination of Brian O'Hara to be the position of police chief. That was voted to be deleted from the agenda. I just want to clarify ahead of Thursday's council meeting that if we still need to take that vote again, or if the committee deleting it deletes it, because it's still on this. So.
We'll go to Clerk Amber.
Hi, I can speak to that quickly. It will have to be fully deleted at council because committees just send the recommendation to council, so it'll have to be fully at council on Thursday.
Okay, great. Thank you. That is helpful clarity. Next, we will go to the Budget Committee, and that report will be given by its Vice Chair, Councilmember Schaefer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Budget Committee will be bringing forward 2 items. Item number 1 approves of staff direction to research a potential payment in lieu of taxes, or pilot program. Item number 2 accepts a donation from Strive Together for Interim Deputy City Operations Officer Katie Topinka to attend the Strive Together 2026 Policy Summit and City Accelerator cohort meetings. I'll stand for questions on these items.
Members, are there any questions? Not seeing any, we will go to our last committee report given for the Intergovernmental Relations Committee, given by its Vice Chair, Vice Chair Rainville.
Thank you, Chair. This morning, the IGR Committee received 1 item for Thursday's council meeting. Item 1 is approving a special law for an employee related to the Public Employees Retirement Association, or PERA. In addition to that item, we received an update on state and federal actions. With that, I will stand for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember. Seeing no questions, I will now turn this meeting over to Councilmember Whiting.
Perfect. Wonderful. Clerk Amber, has it shifted over?
It has, you are correct.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Chair Chowdhury. My name is Jamison Whiting, and I am the chair of the Settlement Agreement and Consent Decree Subcommittee. Because this is the first meeting of this subcommittee, I want to take a brief moment to kind of frame what this committee is and why its work is important to the people of Minneapolis. Just logistically, so we can all hear and the public knows as well, this is not a committee report, as we just heard. This logistically is where we hold the business of the committee. It's within the body of the committee of the whole. This committee was born out of a deeply painful chapter in our city's history following the murder of George Floyd in 2020. Both the U.S. Department of Justice and the Minnesota Department of Human Rights launched comprehensive investigations into the Minneapolis Police Department. Both agencies ultimately concluded what many in our community had been saying for years, that there had been a pattern and practice of unconstitutional policing that existed within the Minneapolis Police Department. What came out of those investigations was a federal consent decree with the DOJ and a settlement agreement with the Minnesota Department of Human Rights. These 2 documents serve as our city's roadmap to fundamentally rebuild our public safety ecosystem that is rooted in constitutional policing, accountability, and comprehensive public safety initiatives. In 2025, the city pledged to carry out the reforms outlined within the Department of Justice consent decree, as that decree was not federally and judicially mandated. Within it, with or without federal oversight, the city is confirmed and committed to each of those reforms within the consent decree. Furthermore, our settlement agreement with the Minnesota Department of Human Rights remains a court-enforceable, legally binding mandate to enact reform. To ensure we meet those mandates, the court appointed an independent evaluator, Effective Law Enforcement for All, ALEFA, to assess our compliance with those agreements. Working alongside that external evaluation, the purpose of this subcommittee is to provide legislative oversight of this massive undertaking, ensuring that the reforms we've agreed to on paper are translating into tangible operational changes on our streets. Our job here is to track the city's progress, ensure transparency for the public, and approve the necessary resources and contracts that make this reform work possible. Colleagues, I will be reaching out in the coming days to hear your thoughts on what this subcommittee should prioritize over this next year, and I will preview that ALEFA will be releasing its next progress report shortly, and I look forward to having them present their findings before this subcommittee. Just a note here as we kind of work through what this will actually look like for staff within the enterprise and the public. The hope is, as I believe this is some of the most transformational work that will happen in the next 4 years, to have the members of staff that can speak directly to the items that come in front of this body, to speak with briefly about kind of a 2 to 3 minute overview of what each item that comes in front of this body. And so this being the first time I've chaired, thank you all for the patience here. And with that, I will turn to the 3 items on the agenda before us today, beginning with item number 1. Item number 1 is a contract amendment asking for an extension with Exceptional Edge Consulting for MPD training services. I will ask Commander Chris Brown to come up with more information. Thank you.
Council Chair, Council members, thank you for this opportunity to share some information with you. And so to start, the contract amendment for consulting, Exceptional Edge Consulting LLC, they will be providing and developing the training for stop, search, citation, and arrest, as well as non-discriminatory policing. Those are what we call, in our group, we call them large bucket trainings. The other large bucket trainings, just to give you a little perspective, are use of force and CIT. So stop, search, and citation, arrest, and non-discriminatory policing. Early on in the position that I carry as the commander of the training division, I felt that you couldn't. I think they were intrinsically together, meaning you can't teach stop, search, citation, arrest without incorporating all of the aspects of non-discriminatory policing. And that's why we're here, and that's why we said we need to combine the two trainings so that we can explain it throughout the process for officers to understand the policies. The contract we developed was, we didn't have the team that we have right now, so early on when we were waiting for the policies to be approved, we worked on developing a RFP and selected Exceptional Edge to develop the training because it was such a huge, robust amount of work, as well as making sure we get it right the first time. We brought in people that had experience, vast experience in working with consent decrees across the United States. So that's Exceptional Edge. Policy took a little bit longer than, which is, it's a pretty robust policy refinement and updating. It takes a lot. It's a big process. So we projected roughly late 2025 to have the policy completed. It took much longer than that. And so in the spring of this year, they did complete the policy, get it approved by LEFA and MDHR, and that has led to needing an extension on the contract for the training. Exceptional Edge is going to be doing a train the trainer on the approved policy lesson plans once they're approved by LEFA and MDHR, and they'll also be working alongside the instructors, which is going to be MPD instructors, as well as City Attorney's Office will be assisting in the delivery of the training. They want to be, in order to have them available to be provide technical assistance throughout the course, the extension was necessary. So we anticipate that the completion date would be sometime in the spring of 2027. So extending it to the December 2027 was appropriate.
Thank you for that, Commander. I would just also note here, right, this is just a contract extension for the dates. No additional funding is attached to this amendment. Do any of my colleagues have any discussion or questions? Seeing no further discussions, I will move approval of this item. On that, do I have to get a second? Are we good? Okay, perfect. On that motion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion is carried. Wonderful. With that, Commander Brown, I will ask you to come up again. Next, we have item number 2, which is contract amendment with the first response actors for MPD role-playing scenario training. I will ask Commander Brown for more details on that item. Thank you, Commander.
Commander Chair, Council Chair, and Council members, thank you. The contract for first response actors, we learned, we've had contracts in the past for actor groups that come in and assist with training to provide training that is scenario-based training that is reflects very much what the officers see in the field. When we entered into the settlement agreement, it became court mandated that we not just talk from one side and try our best to make sure we achieve this, but we in fact put it into force by creating an RFP and looking for how we can bring that talent and effectiveness into our training. So in doing so, the RFP was created for the first for actors to come assist for the reality-based scenario training, and when the first response was selected as our vendor, there was only first response, and then there was a vendor from outside of the state. And I can imagine sometimes when we need up to 17 people assisting in various different levels for an hour or 2 hours or 4 hours of training throughout different scenarios with different strengths. You can imagine it'd be difficult to bring in somebody from outside of a state who can promise you to bring realistic actors into that scope. So during the RFP process, we selected First Response as the local person who is also specialized in law enforcement actors to provide this exact service we were looking for, and they've been exceptional. So moving forward, early this year, we knew the contract was coming toward the end. We worked with procurement to try to do a sole source, and they felt that it was more appropriate to see if things have changed, see if there's other groups out there. So they suggested we work for an extension, identify what the needs are between now and the end of the year, and give us that time to do the RFP process again, and that is where we're at right now. So this one does come with a cost, this particular extension does, because we, starting last week on June 1st, we have the start of our second police academy, and we also have our third police academy in the fall. That starts in October. So the greatest need for the actors actually falls into the second half of the year. So both with in-service as well as pre-service, which is our academy staff. So the estimated cost would be an extension of the $103,300.
Thank you, Commander. Do any of my colleagues have any discussion or questions on this matter? Does not look like we have any. So seeing no further discussion, I will move approval of this item. On that motion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? With that, the ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Lastly, here we have item number 3, which is a contract amendment with DLG Consulting and Advisory Services for investigatory services within the Internal Affairs Division of MPD. I will welcome up Commander Markstrom for more information on this item. Thank you, Commander, and please note your name and position for the record.
Yes. Good afternoon, Council Chair, Council members. I'm Ralph Markstrom. I'm the commander of the Force Investigation Team within the Minneapolis Police Department. The Force Investigation Team is a unit that's under the Internal Affairs Bureau. We are separate from Internal Affairs, although both Internal Affairs and Force Investigations both report to the same bureau chief. The role of the Force Investigation Team is we conduct reviews and audits of all the force incidents that happen in the city. We conduct a sample audit of level 1 uses of force, and then level 2 uses of force and non-critical level 3 uses of force. We conduct what's called a quality assurance review of those incidents. And that is a full review of the incident to make sure that the force used was within policy, and we also identify any other potential issues that might involve training or supervision. We use DLG, the consulting group, to help supplement our workload, as right now we just do not have the staffing to accommodate the number of quality assurance reviews that we need to complete every year. In 2024, there were approximately 380 quality assurance reviews that needed to be conducted within the city of Minneapolis. So we use that number in addition to the number of takedowns that were conducted in 2024 to come up with the number of quality assurance reviews that we might need to conduct for the year of 2025. Averaging those out, we went from approximately 380 to a little over 700 if we factor in takedowns becoming level 2. So with that, of those approximately 700 quality assurance reviews that need to be conducted, we sublet about 50 to 60 of those per month to DLG Consulting, and we conduct the remainder of those in-house. We did these based on those predictions of the numbers of total takedowns from the year prior, along with the total number of quality assurance reviews from the year prior. As you all know, with the settlement agreement and consent decree, it requires that takedowns become a level 2 use of force from a level 1, so thus increasing the number of quality assurance reviews that needed to be conducted. Initially, the new force policy that was going to make takedowns level 2s was supposed to go into effect in October of 2025. It did not go into effect until January of 2026. In addition to that, because of the ICE activity in the city in January of 2026, we experienced a well below average number of force incidents in the city during that particular month. So it's my understanding there is a bit of a surplus from our original amount that we asked for in the first extension, and that can help explain that the delay in the implementation of the new force policy, as well as the low force events in January, can certainly explain why we did fewer quality assurance reviews than expected within the force investigation team.
Thank you, Commander. I see a few of my colleagues are in queue here. We can start off with Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Whiting. I'm trying to make sure I get clarification too, just on some background related to this contract. So I know last October, the prior administration basically reiterated findings made in a LIFA report at that time that highlighted that the backlog of these particular complaints made within IA against MPD officers have been completely eliminated. So I'm trying to get a sense, since this was, wildly like touted as an accomplishment, why we're being asked to beef up this contract to support a backlog within IA, and then looking at the most recent ALIFA report, specifically on their page, bottom of page 26, it seems like IA is almost nearly defunct. So I'm really trying to get a sense of what's the current status of it. Especially, I'm just looking at a quote specifically. They've named that rapid personnel turnover within internal affairs is contributing to department-wide inefficiencies and causing stress within the unit, and inefficiencies that could have been avoided by a staggered and planned transition for outgoing staff. So I'm also wondering, it's because of that lack of foresight and planning within MPD around IA, is this also why we're being asked to approve of this contract? So first question though, can you share what is the current staffing within IA?
Okay, Councilmember Wansley, before I answer that question, Force Investigation Team, FIT, the unit that I'm in command of, we are separate from internal affairs.
Right.
We're under the same bureau head, but we do completely different work than internal affairs. We review the force incidents in the city, and if we see potential policy violations within those incidents, whether related to force or any other policy violations, then we make a referral of that case to internal affairs, and then they make the decision about whether or not they're going to open an investigation, on that particular incident. We, in force investigations, we do not conduct the administrative investigation of the policy violation. So if you're asking me about numbers in internal affairs and their caseload, I don't have that information.
You don't have that. Okay, and then current staffing within the unit that you're overseeing related to FIT.
Yep. So when I first took over FIT back in April of 2025, we had myself, one lieutenant, two investigative sergeants, and two civilian investigators. In January of 2026, the lieutenant got transferred. So one of our sergeants had to step up to serve as the detailed lieutenant. And then one of our investigators went on personal leave, and he's still on personal leave. Maybe he's coming back in July, I don't know. So effectively, we were down to one investigative sergeant and two civilian investigators as of the first of the year. We've now, with some additional staffing, we added two more investigative sergeants. However, one had to go on baby leave almost immediately after coming to the unit, and he just returned as of this week. And the other one that we added, when he was transferred, he was involved in a lot of training, and also he was involved in special duty for the police ride out in Washington, D.C., and he just came back a couple of weeks ago. So, with the exception of a few weeks here and there, we've basically been with one investigative sergeant and two civilian 2 civilian investigators just up until this most recent week. Now we're back to 3 and 2, plus a lieutenant.
Okay, and can you remind me again of you mentioned there has been the total number of cases that you all are overseeing that fits that level 2?
Yeah, as far as the level, do you want me to explain how the level 2s
Yeah.
are, how we calculated that?
Yeah.
Okay, so when we asked for the contract extension back in 2025, in June of 2025, with the additional money, we used 2024 numbers. So we had approximately 380 QARs that include level 2s and non-critical level 3s. Okay, when the new force policy went into effect, that made takedowns, which was a level 1, a level 2, which would require a full QAR from that. So that, with the addition of those takedowns, which based on that year's data was 468, and we add that to the 388 QARs from the previous year, take that total number divided by 12, that came to 72 per month, an average of 72 per month, of which we sublet 50 to 60 of those out to DLG every month, and then we handle the remainder in-house.
Okay, and this also is helpful because you mentioned we did approve of this contract last year of June.
Yes.
And I thought this was also tied to IA because I know there has been a reference, a backlog on, you all are interrelated.
Yep.
So this is another extension of that contract. Do you foresee, and the ALIFA report highlighted this, of like personnel changes being the crux of why we keep running into backlog. So do you see a proposal for bringing in additional staffing, or are we likely going to have to keep relying on outside contractors to meet this gap, which it seems like is created because we don't have stable like personnel?
Right. Councilmember, for the foreseeable future, as far as the force investigation team is concerned, I believe we're going to have to continue to rely on an outside vendor, just simply because right now in the MPD, we don't have the staff to draw from to staff our unit.
And is it mostly the primary mode is through transfers? You mentioned people have transferred out.
Right.
Alifa pointed this out
Yep.
too. And if there's a way to, from my understanding and what they highlighted in the report, those transfers aren't required if you are recognizing staffing shortages. So is there a way in which you all can go about maintaining those transfers when you do get them so that you're not having to lose out on that permanent staffing?
Well, that personnel movement is a decision that's made above me. I've made requests for additional personnel, but I also do understand that, every sergeant, and bear in mind that the settlement agreement and the consent decree require that our investigations be done, level 3 and any kind of critical incident response be done by sergeants. So it has to be the rank of sergeant to conduct those investigations. So the fact of the matter is, if you bring a sergeant into our unit, you take them from another unit. Or if you have to promote a sergeant right now, you take somebody off the street. And, although we are increasing our numbers incrementally, we just don't have the personnel, the sworn personnel in the department to devote what we need to our unit to be fully self-sufficient.
I think this is definitely one where we're talking about priorities related to maybe the police contract. I'm trying to figure out what, again, is the bottleneck of, and this is tied to other police initiatives that we're working on, where we get staffing. I won't even say if it's a staffing challenge, it's the repurposing of existing staff to meet critical priorities, like our consent decree, and really looking at how we can be creative about that, and acknowledging what if there's barriers in the police contract that prohibits or makes that a little bit more difficult, what we need to be doing so that we don't have to over rely on contracts and we can have that in-house support, or even partnership opportunities with other jurisdictional agencies, if they could provide that support in the investigative capacity. So I think that is going to be a long-standing issue. What Alifa has noted, it's personnel that's at the crux of this, both IA and it sounds like with this. And until then, we're going to have to be in this loop of contracts. So that's something that I'm naming as a priority. I know I'm going to be in meetings with you, Councilmember or Chair Whiting, about this, but this feels like a top concern for sure. Thank you. No.
You're welcome.
Perfect. Thank you, Councilmember Wansley. I will pass it over to President Payne.
Thank you, Chair Whiting. I have similar questions to Councilmember Wansley, but I wanted to make sure that a discussion that happened during agenda setting, Councilmember Chugtai isn't here, and I want to make sure that we don't lose sight of this. A point that was raised was, and actually maybe I should back up. This was originally a single contract for Wiley Reber covering both IA and OPCR. Back in 2024, we split that into two separate contracts between Wiley Reber and the DLG group. That's what's before us right now. The question that came up in agenda setting is that this contract was originally approved in 2024. There was an expressed need for more capacity given all the staff realities that you've just shared with us. And so in 2024, we added an additional $1 million to that contract. Councilmember Chugtai was raising the question, if we knew that we needed this extra capacity, why didn't we extend the timeline of that contract at the same time as the dollar amount? And so the question is, do we have a procurement problem on our side for when we come to council requesting additional capacity? Shouldn't we ask for more capacity in total, both time and money? Or is there something underneath this on the IA side that is actually more troubling that we need to be considering? So is there a procurement fix that is just completely procedural here around this mismatch between extending dollars 1 year and then extending time another year? Or is there a more underlying challenge in IA that's making it so that we're not even utilizing these outside resources at the right level that we should be? And I'm just wondering if you're in a place to speak to that.
Well, Council President Payne, what I did with my unit is I calculated the numbers to make a good faith estimate about what the number of quality assurance reviews we would have to do in the upcoming years. I provided those numbers to implementation and to procurement, and they are the ones who calculated the dollar amount. So I cannot speak personally about how the dollar amount was calculated. We do have someone here from procurement that could possibly help answer that question, sir.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. And if you could state your name for the record, that'd be helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, what's that, sir?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Chair Whiting, members of the committee, my name is Pam Fernandez. I'm the Director of Procurement from Finance and Property Services Department. Just to give a little bit of background on this contract, this contract resulted from an RFP process. It was for $750,000 to begin with, and then in the second year, which is like last year, in July 2025, we added like $1,008,000 to it, which brought it up to 1.7 or 8 million total. So when the original contract was for 24, 25, and 26 of June 6th, it actually expired. So when they asked for that extension, they saw that there was a little bit of money left in there, which they think as enough for the remainder of the time, for that 18 months. And they may come back here if, there are more cases that they need to handle. So that's how procurement took that one. And the entire process was followed. There's nothing that they went outside of the procurement process to do this one. So we are totally comfortable.
Do you know how much remains?
About $650,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think maybe as an administrative follow-up, if we could, I'm trying to get at what the question is here. I'm trying to understand this capacity, right? So given what the commander shared is he's calculated his best faith estimate of how many cases and how much capacity they're going to need to get through those cases. I'm trying to understand, will we run out of money with what that forecast is, or will we run out of time? Which of those will it be? I want to make sure that this contract extension is aligning with our actual workload.
Okay. So what I understand from the conversations that we had with MPD is that they estimated a $1,008,000 for the remainder of the contract as of June 6th, but we didn't need to request work from that company to that extent.
Yeah, I think what I want for an administrative follow-up is essentially what our original estimate was, and then what are the factors that made us underutilize this contract.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Kirks, did you get that? Okay.
Thank you. Colleagues, do we have any more questions or discussion? Does not look like we do. So I will move approval of this item. On that motion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion is carried. I will now return the chair back to Councilmember Chowdhury for the rest of the Committee of the Whole.
Thank you, Chair Whiting. Now we will be turning to the receive and file portion of our agenda. First, I would like to move to postpone item number 5 to the Committee of the Whole meetings scheduled for July 14th, 2026. Vice Chair Chugtai and I have been in touch with Minneapolis Police Department staff about the response on this spending for fiscal year 2025 legislative directive. There were several questions that went unanswered in the last meeting, and it was our hope that we would have answers to those questions in this meeting. However, staff had communicated to us that the work that they need to do would not have enough time to report back on those questions, and so they committed to having everything prepared for us on July 14th. And since this is a motion, do we have to take a vote on this? No, I can just move to postpone it. Okay, thank you so much. So we will not be taking that up today. And moving on, we are going to get a really exciting presentation today related to the city's 2050 comprehensive plan. We're kicking it off, Minneapolis 2050. Really looking forward to starting this process with CPED and our community. I will welcome up Joe Bernard and Mei-Ling Smith from CPED, who will be presenting more on this today.
Good afternoon, Chair Chowdhury and committee members. My name is Joe Bernard. I'm a project manager in CPED. I'm joined by a couple of colleagues also presenting today, Mei-Ling Smith, my co-project manager on the comp plan update, and Shanna Sether, one of our co-leads on our engagement team. We are focusing today on, we're asking you to receive and file our engagement framework for the plan that we've been spending a couple of months working on here, but we want to start with giving kind of an overview of the entire project to set the stage, as Chair Chowdhury mentioned, kick the project off today. We are planning to give, like I said, this high-level overview. We want to talk about the current comprehensive plan a little bit to make sure we're all on the same page about what was done last time, what's in there, and what our intended approach is this time around. So to start, just some level setting, we're required by state law to update our comprehensive plan every 10 years. We do so in response to regional plan developed by the Metropolitan Council. Their plan this cycle is called Imagine 2050. An important element of that regional vision is forecasting growth for all of the cities in the metro area, and you can see here on this slide that the Met Council expects us to plan for the city to grow to over 500,000 residents by 2050. Our plan needs to demonstrate that we can accommodate this growth, and we work together with the Met Council to identify any impacts to regional systems that might occur during that timeline. The Met Council also allocates to every city in the region an affordable housing growth target that has on a 10-year time horizon, and you see those numbers here on the slide. We have to meet those as well. We use this opportunity every 10 years to check in with residents and other stakeholders about their immediate needs and for their vision for the future of the city. The plan is used to guide high-level decision-making. It sets the stage for how the city invests in our communities. And it's also used to justify the way we make decisions about how the city grows and changes through our zoning processes and serves as a foundational document for important implementation initiatives like the Transportation Action Plan and the Climate Equity Plan. The Met Council sets requirements for us that we need to meet, and we need to address all of the elements that you see here on this slide in our plan. We need to demonstrate that our land use plan will accommodate the growth that we're seeing, that we're identifying transportation improvements that will serve our community, and so on. We want to start by acknowledging that as we kick off Minneapolis 2050, we're not starting from scratch. 10 years ago, we embarked on a project where we met with community in over 180 meetings. We collected 20,000 points of feedback on the last planning process, Minneapolis 2040. And the result is that we ended up with a document that has 14 goals, and all of our action steps and policies point towards achieving those goals. We generally speaking, as we think about working on this next plan update, that the policy foundation and goals in the existing comp plan are largely still relevant and useful for carrying out the city's vision. But we want to improve on some things that we'll cover here in the next few slides. I'm not going to go over in detail some of the achievements that the city has, benchmarks the city has achieved since Minneapolis 2040 was adopted. But the point here really is that there isn't one individual policy or action that's in the plan that achieves our goals. We want to underscore that every department has a role to play here in delivering on the goals of the plan. And in this example, there's a lot here pointing towards how we are attempting to address the housing affordability crisis. We think we want to continue coordinating with our partners across all departments to deliver these goals. As we're getting started on Minneapolis 2050, we try to take account of what is working well, what can be improved upon. I already mentioned the interdependent nature of our work and that policies and actions are serving a larger goal. We want to retain those things. That being said, there is a lot of content in Minneapolis 2040, so much so that at times it's difficult to know what is a priority and what we should really be focusing on in the near term and in the long term. So as individual departments are delivering big wins, there's at times some policies and actions that don't have a clear home or a champion. So those are things we're looking toward and identifying that we can improve upon as we develop the next iteration of our comprehensive plan. So as I mentioned, we're looking at this currently as a minor policy update, and I think what we want to highlight is that we want to focus more on implementation this time around, give more attention to that. And what this might look like is that we would prioritize our work to address the Met Council requirements. This means right-sizing and targeting our engagement efforts and providing more clarity on who is responsible for implementation. We also have identified we can definitely improve on our evaluation methods and more regularly report out to the City Council and to residents and stakeholders about the progress that we're making. We're also at this stage recommending that one way to increase our ability to be nimble and flexible with how we achieve our goals is that the past 5 years have presented us as a city with some unexpected circumstances, and by one way we can be more flexible and nimble is we're talking about taking a lot of our actions out of the plan itself and putting those into department-specific action plans, similar to how the Transportation Action Plan works today. With that, I will hand it over to Mei-Ling Smith, who's going to cover more details about the structures that we've set up internally in our department and across the city to serve this process.
Welcome up.
Thank you, Joe, and good afternoon, Chair Chowdhury and committee members. My name is Mei-Ling Smith. I'm a principal planner in CPED, Community Planning. And while we've been working very hard for many months behind the scenes to set up the structures that will shape this process, today we're kind of considering to be the first official kickoff day for the process. So engagement activities will be beginning at the end of next week, in the coming weeks, where we'll start connecting and reconnecting with the community and other stakeholders, and we'll start to collect feedback on their issues and their priorities, and hear what they want us to address in this plan update. Each phase of the comp plan will have a really different feel. We have different objectives for each of the phases. So the first phase that's happening this year, we're going to be using engagement to help form a vision statement and eventually goals that we'll bring back to this body. And this will guide the work for the rest of the process. Next year, we're going to focus on creating some draft concepts for the public to weigh in on. So this will be a really meaty part of the plan where we're going to get into more detail. And then out of that process, we will publish a draft plan in 2028. And then the city will have to forward a final draft of this plan to the Met Council at the end of 2028. And then the Met Council will spend that last phase in 2029 reviewing the plan, making sure it accommodates the growth projections that they've set out for us. And then the effective date is January 1st of 2030. So we're building for several years towards that date. It's also during that fourth phase, 2029, that departments will begin drafting their action plans, producing the action plans that Joe was talking about. So this is the organizational structure that we have in place as of today. The project management team is comprised of members of CPED, and they're directing the day-to-day work of the overall project, meeting regularly. We also have other groups in these operational work group functions. So we have the research group that is supporting all the technical and research needs, working with procurement to get those contracts for any consultants that we might need. We have the engagement team, who you'll hear from later, and they're designing and leading all of the engagement activities, all of the nitty-gritty details that go into that. Our communications team is composed of both CPED and City Comms, and so they're helping us with social media, press, also producing a video that you'll see later this summer. And then we have the Technical Advisory Committee as one of these operational work groups. And so these, and I'll tell you more about this, but they'll be advising on content kind of for the process as a whole. And then in the middle group, you see the topical work groups. We have about 12 of these. Most of their work will align with a chapter of the plan. Some might be an appendix. So we expect to organize the plan this time kind of through chapters, and that will help us stay organized. And then we have this third group called City Leadership. So this includes the mayor, the city council, and a leadership committee. And that's going to be composed of mostly department director level type of staff. And so those leadership positions will help advise on the direction of the work that this entire plan will take. So again, this is the project management level project management team, including myself and Joe, and others in CPED who will be operating the day-to-day work of this plan, and then the operational work groups, engagement, communications, and research. The leadership committee, again, is multiple departments, most of them directors of those departments, and that's from throughout the organization, as well as representation from the mayor's office. And we'll be looking to them to direct staff on the overall approach, but also eventually plan content at key milestones throughout the plan. The technical advisory committee is managers and then division directors from across the city enterprise. And they have a unique role. So they will be advising on planned content, but they're also going to have a very important role on helping to develop consensus on who is responsible for which task, roles and responsibilities. And hopefully with their input, we will have a process that has clear implementation efforts reflected in the plan. And then the topical work groups are going to be responsible for creating most of the plan content. They are just getting started as of last week, and they are staffed by subject matter experts from across the city enterprise that are experienced in both policymaking but also implementation. And then the elected and appointed leadership group is shown here. We intend to engage with the City Council by bringing important milestone updates to this group, and we're also going to plan to use the Committee of the Whole working sessions as a place to dive into these issues more deeply with the Council as needed. And in the coming months, we'll also be reaching out to your offices to schedule one-on-one briefings if you request them. And then last, our City Planning Commission and our other boards and commissions will play a role as well, and we'll be relying on our internal partners in the city to also help with communicating to those groups. And I will be happy to invite Ms. Shanna Sether, our co-chair of our engagement work group, to walk us through the process that her team has made to define the approach to engaging the public in this process. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Chowdhury and council members. My name is Shanna Sether. I'm a principal city planner in CPED. I have the honor today to present our engagement framework for Minneapolis 2050 on behalf of the many talented colleagues who have helped shape this document. Here's a list of our engagement work group members that have really generously devoted so much of their expertise and their partnership and their time to this group and to this work. And we really appreciate their collaboration and their insights and ongoing commitment to advancing engagement for 2050. The engagement framework serves as our roadmap for how we will engage community throughout Minneapolis 2050 and the planning process. It establishes goals and guiding principles for inclusive, equitable, and accessible engagement. It outlines engagement strategies for each phase, and then it also recognizes that engagement will need to be nimble. We're going to need to evolve as we go through this process through ongoing partnership with city leadership, yourselves, and then also the community. At its core, this framework is about building meaningful relationships and creating opportunities to help shape the future of Minneapolis. This framework is guided by several key engagement goals, which you see. They're very long and enumerated here, but also well addressed in the plan, so just at a high level. These goals focus on increasing awareness of what comprehensive planning is, ensuring broad and equitable participation, building trust through transparency and consistency, and making sure community feedback informs decision-making. These goals also emphasize reducing barriers to participation, expanding access to engagement opportunities, and keeping the public informed through engagement summaries and regular updates throughout the process. To support these goals, we have a wide range of both in-person and online engagement opportunities, really designed to expand participation and also make engagement more accessible. We are very excited to launch phase 1 of engagement this summer. During this phase, we will build that shared understanding of comprehensive planning, develop the draft vision and goals for Minneapolis 2050, and identify key community priorities. This summer, you will find us at community festivals and events across the city where we will inform people about comprehensive planning generally, raise awareness of the planning process, and also invite residents to be involved. We really want to build a following in this first phase. And then at the same time, we will also conduct targeted outreach with key stakeholders and community partners to better understand community priorities and build strong relationships throughout the entire Minneapolis 2050 planning process. Later this week, we will launch our project website, which will serve as the central hub for information and updates and opportunities to participate. We will also use existing communication channels, including social media, newsletters, and gov delivery to help keep the community informed. And we all hope you include that in your newsletters as well. We encourage folks to sign up for project updates through the website and stay engaged as the process moves forward. Engagement is going to be a marathon. This is a long process, so we want to be really intentional with community and making sure they understand how they can best inform the plan going forward. Toward the end of summer, we are going to have community members, we will give them the opportunity to provide feedback that will help inform on the draft vision and goals through public survey that then will be presented to you at the end of this year, as Mei-Ling and Joe have described to you. We look forward to partnering with community and yourselves to create a shared vision for the Minneapolis in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Chowdhury and committee members. That concludes our remarks, and we're here to support any discussion that you might have.
Thank you so much. Members, are there any questions on this? Okay, I will recognize Councilmember Whiting.
Thank you, Chair Chowdhury. Just wanted to take a moment to say thank you. I know this project is a large lift from every single one of you all, and so it is a process. I've been digging into it. I was asked to a community meeting as of late about a particular viral tennis court in my ward, and looking at the built forms and then kind of the FARs, and we're kind of diving into the built form handbooks and everything that you've all put together, and they were quite useful. Every single question I had were answered in those handbooks, and so thank you for all the work, and really looking forward to what 2050 will bring. And sounds like today is the kickoff, so I guess happy birthday to your 2050 plan. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yeah, in the presentation you said reach out for individual briefings on this. Who should we reach out to?
Chair Chowdhury, Councilmember Stevenson will be sending an invitation out to your offices to gauge interest in those one-on-one sessions later this month.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I put myself in queue. Technically, it's not its birthday because it's not born yet. You know about this. He's expecting.
It's the due date's changing. The due date's changing.
Thank you all for this presentation and the work leading up to this. Really looking forward to it. Very much appreciate and want to lift up the point of engagement being a big marathon on this. It's going to take some time, as it should, and I love that 2040 gets to be a foundation. I'm particularly curious to talk to staff about how are we thinking about prioritizing, what are things that have come up and what have been your learnings. That's literally what I'm the most curious about, is sitting down with the planners and hearing off the bat of y'all taking the time to implement the 2040 plan, and other department leads on what's worked, what hasn't worked, and what do you think is the direction for our city, especially in a moment in time where our economy and our community is changing so rapidly and so fast. So definitely going to be looking forward to doing a one-on-one session. I also think it would be a really great idea to do maybe a meeting with me and Vice President Osman as biz chair and vice chair too, just to kind of talk about it from that perspective of our committee, and just take some more time there. The other place of excitement that I'm looking forward to is the community engagement sessions. I think this is a place where the council really leans into its role of representing 34,000 to 40,000 of our neighbors in each of our wards, and would love to be able to participate and come and attend the events that you're hosting, but also I know when we were doing like the Southside Community Safety Center, Director Amanda Harrington worked with several council members in our respective wards to host community engagement sessions and just have it ward-based to bring that type of perspective. And I'll speak for myself. I know that that's something that I'm really excited to do. And over the last like couple of years have had many community members reach out to me wanting to talk about 2040 and then wanting to talk about the future of 2050. And when I was running for re-election this last year, that was always like a top question. It's like, what's your vision for 2050? Like, how are you going to show up in this conversation? The city's going to tackle it. Like, we should talk about it. These are the ideas that I have. So really appreciate it. Excited to get this kicked off. And we'll look forward to the other opportunities of engagement here. We have a few other members in queue. Next, I will recognize Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for this presentation. It will be no surprise to many people, and I will remind everyone else that I was highly critical of the process to develop, introduce, and adopt the 2040 plan. As I said then, we have the right goals and we got the wrong plan. I am hopeful, though, that the 2050 comp plan can correct course to better support our priorities and goals, and I'm glad to hear that many of those goals, it sounds like, will largely remain the same. In terms of engagement, I'm happy to see the engagement framework, goals, and methods. That looks like a really good start to me. But I will offer this. Residents of our city felt blindsided when the 2040 plan came out, and that their input was not valued, considered, or incorporated. So, on slide 6, when it says there was widespread public buy-in, I want to reiterate, and it says it this way, which is important, that it was on the goals. I think there was widespread buy-in on the goals, but not the final plan in my experience. And I think I'm the only person sitting up here that was here during that time. That's not what I experienced as a council member, that there was widespread buy-in on the plan. And we've seen that kind of stress play out over these last years. I've never seen angry, posters and lawn signs both ways about something as wonky as a comp plan in our city. Important things, though, did come out of the comp plan. One was about consistency in how we treat land use projects. Another was the Transportation Action Plan, as mentioned by Mr. Bernard. I do like how that Transportation Action Plan articulates into other policy, and it's really tangible. Maybe the reason I say tangible about a Transportation Action Plan is because it's a little more up to us as a city, right? Like, we own the city right-of-way, and our capital budget largely helps us to fund the priorities that we put in it. But I do want to point out that in my experience, it was a painful process for many, that residents didn't feel heard, and this is an opportunity to do better. And when I have been around different parts of the city, those wounds still feel raw, almost 7-8 years later. So I am excited for us to lead the way and show that Minneapolis is up to the challenge. I know that those here presenting today, we're all here, but we're not the leaders and developers of the 2040 plan. It actually, in my opinion, has been implemented a lot better and more thoughtfully than it was initially adopted, and that's largely thanks to city staff. So I think we all learned important lessons from it, and I'm here for the 2050 planning process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next, I'll go to Councilmember Schaefer.
Thank you, Chair. I also, not knowing Councilmember Palmisano's comments, just wanted to say thank you as well, and knowing that we have these strong goals. But my question was, are there aspects, as you as staff having heard feedback on this plan for the many years between the adoption and where we sit today, are there aspects of this plan that you feel like need to be tweaked or you hope to change or to dig into that need to be righted? You alluded to one, I think, around the idea of implementation, that we wanted to really have a plan that would be, I don't know exactly if that was easier to implement, more clear to implement, or just implemented, and maybe have some more accountability around that. But was I hearing you right, I guess, would be the first question around implementation. And then would there be any other things that you hope to really tweak or change as you have had this front row seat to implementing this plan and working with this plan the last few years?
Chair Chowdhury, Councilmember Schaefer, thank you for the question. I would emphasize how important that question of implementation is, and that's why we highlighted it here today, is that in part because the last process was so wide-ranging and we brought everyone on board, there is at times a dilution of resources that happens in terms of staff available to work on things, or you can only have so many priorities at a given time. So there are elements of the plan that we want to bring to this body and to the public and say, is this really rise to the level of importance of being in a comprehensive plan, and be clear about, if we are going to have these things in our comprehensive plan, what are the steps we're going to take to make them happen. And we have examples we can dive into that I think we will intend to bring to working sessions where we can demonstrate that we have examples of policies where we haven't been able to bring them forward. Your comments and your question, I think, are right on point with where we're thinking. I think the other thing that I'll say is that we're still in the phase of identifying ways in which we can improve, and part of that process is going to be involve engaging with you all to identify your priorities, so that we can better focus this time around on what is most important.
Great, thank you. That's really helpful, and I will look forward to that invitation to meet and to maybe hear what some of those aspects are more in detail. But any time that we can have our plan be more concrete, more streamlined, adds validity, adds weight, adds intent, and a straight arrow purpose for where we're headed as a city. So thank you for your desire to do that, and I look forward to learning more. Thanks.
Thank you.
Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you. And I really look forward to participating in this. As many of you know, I inherited a lot of problems over in St. Anthony East. Now it looks like Beltrami, Sheridan neighborhood, and I have some feedback that I'd like to give you privately, so please look me up, the sooner the better.
Great. Is there any other members in queue? Oh, yes, I see. Council President Payne.
Thank you, Chair Chowdhury. Councilmember Rainville reminded me of a thought, and it's my favorite quote. It's, "The future's already here, it's just not evenly distributed." And I hear this most embodied in my Como neighborhood, where it's had the 2040 plans, I feel like the most actually tangible in the Como neighborhood. A lot of densities happen there, really maximizing those lots. And it creates a bit of conflict, right? And you have this mix of students that kind of churn through the neighborhood quite a lot, along with like fourth generation homeowners. And I'm wondering, one of the big tension points to me is our vision for 2040 was matching that density with transportation and kind of being able to facilitate a car-free existence, or at least a car-light existence. And I'm wondering, kind of to Councilmember Palmisano's point, how you're thinking about being able to watch the 2040 plan in action for, well, it's kind of hard to say a clean number of years given the amount of litigation that surrounded it, but at least enough of a track record to see some of the actual real-world impacts, how they align with those original goals, which I think were pretty universally viewed positively. I'm just wondering, as we look at the kind of uneven distribution of how comp planning actually gets implemented, which is largely market driven, right? We can only do so much as planners. How you're thinking about that mismatch of how maybe some areas have a concentrated and accelerated implementation of the plan versus other areas maybe lagging, which lead to a scenario where you have the chicken and egg problem of the density without the transit, or the transit without the density creates this kind of car dependency still. I don't know if there's any way of answering that question. It's not that concise.
Welcome back.
Chair Chowdhury, Council President Payne, that is the question that we're faced with and that we try to address in this document. I think the way that we can try and think about it in terms of implementation is, what are the areas of the city where we know the growth is happening, where we can do active management of the impacts that are happening, and then where are the parts of the city that need different interventions to realize the vision of the plan. And I think in our minds we've set the groundwork for, like, we want to reiterate, we're not starting from scratch on a number of those things, but we've intentionally set up our working groups and systems to partner with all of the folks that are impacted by planning throughout the city to make sure we're paying attention to those impacts. So I like to use an example of how we've had success in the recent past is that for a time period between 2010 and 2020, I'm going to approximate and fudge the numbers here, which everyone loves. We approximately grew by 50,000 residents in the city. At that same time, our vehicle miles traveled in the city went down. So we know that we can do this. We have demonstrated it in the past, and we're looking for more ways that we can have successes like that with our partners as we develop this plan.
Great answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Is there anyone else that would like to get into queue on this one? Okay, and I'll just say, jumping off of what you said, and your really great answer is, I think there's a real hunger from community in having this process and what comes out of it feel more three-dimensional to their lives. Like, a thing that I hear oftentimes is like, how does the 2050 plan and how does our comprehensive plan end up working for families? What does it mean for someone who lives in an apartment or in a house to live nearby a school or close by transit? And how do we think about it through that perspective? Because we're trying to grow our city, and there's so many people right now pretty much lined up trying to find places to live all throughout my ward and across the city, to grow their families and look out to that future. I've heard a lot about people asking about what does it mean to build out a 15-minute city where I can just do everything and have everything that I need in the city of Minneapolis, and I don't have to think about planning for anything beyond 15 minutes. So really exciting stuff. I feel like the sessions that we'll have, the learning labs, will be a great space to kind of dig into that. So I am not seeing any other members in queue, so I will direct the clerk to file that report and presentation. And seeing no further business before us and with no objection, I will declare this meeting adjourned.